Hello and welcome to Worth the War. My name is Kimmy. The purpose of Worth the War is to help prepare people for healthy love and relationship and to avoid abuse. If you think we can do a better job with love and relationship than we're doing in today's culture, then you found the exact right place. Our community here at Worth the War is becoming more and more diverse. We have a large group of people who are survivors that have survived emotional, physical, or sexual abuse. We also have plenty of parents who are trying to make sure that they prepare their children better for the love and relationship arena than they were prepared themselves. And we also have quite a few people who simply think that we're approaching love and relationship in all the wrong ways. And if we come together and we raise our voices together, we can actually make a dent and help love and relationship going forward be healthier for a lot more people. Let's dig into today's topic. This will be a short video, and the topic is going to be why do abusers love titles, and how can understanding that help us to prepare for healthy love and relationship, and most importantly, to avoid abuse. For most people, when I say things like CEO or president, pastor or rabbi, priest, counselor, psychologist, physician, all these titles that we throw around and we hear about every day, we have a certain level of respect for those titles. And I'm not denying the fact that we should be raised to understand that those things can be hard to attain and we should give a certain level of respect. But we need to be much more clear in the modern culture. Somebody earning a title is not the same as earning our trust and respect. From a very young age, we should be both understanding and teaching people a title is something that anybody can earn no matter what kind of character level they have. So we need to start to separate out who they are from what title they carry. It doesn't take an awful lot of our imagination to understand why someone who has an aggressive or controlling or abusive nature would actually want to have a title that lends them credibility. We all understand if we want to get the door of trust open, some of the ways that we can shortcut that is by the job that we have, or certain awards that we receive, or certain things that we do that get attention from people. And we can make our resumes and make our lives look like they're padded with things that would make people say, I just want to trust that person and give them my time and my energy. The problem is we need to be trained ahead of time to understand that can be done with a good heart. People actually just trying to do good for others and trying to be achievement oriented can be done with a very bad heart too, that literally is trying to make themselves look a certain way so they can act another. So we understand that these kinds of personalities actually like titles. So why don't we spend more time preparing ourselves and others for the fact that we need to respond to these titles in a way that has a little bit of room for the fact that not everybody has a good heart. This topic has actually come up in my world 3 times in just the last week, where people have actually shared with me, whether it was a parent or an authority figure or a counselor or in one case a doctor, they were supposed to be able to let their guard down and let this person help them. And instead what they received was abuse. In light of that, let's look at some practical ways that we can make sure that doesn't happen to you or somebody that you love. Regardless of the age, we can teach certain things like boundaries. When we go to someone who's in a position of authority or has some kind of title that we think we're supposed to be able to trust, we need to really remember what we're going to them for. If we're going to them for a doctor, we probably don't need to accept their advice on other areas of our life. If we're going to them as a counselor, they probably should have absolutely no reason to touch us physically. We need to know what we're there for and what we're actually asking for. We should have very high standards as to how they answer those. We need to even teach our children that just because someone's your teacher, youth counselor, or a doctor doesn't give them permission to do things to you that you're uncomfortable about. They should be able to learn to listen to their gut instinct on that as well. When we think about boundaries, we have to realize that we need to be very clear on what we're going to them for. We need to absolutely be sure that they don't cross boundaries that are inappropriate, and we have to be able to identify it when they do. And if they do, and if it's required, we have to actually be willing to sever that relationship, and if necessary, even go to the proper authorities. Another thing that we can do to protect ourselves and the people we love from the abuse of people who hold certain titles and jobs is to have a proper level of skepticism, to understand that maybe there was a day that you could trust someone just because they were a doctor or a lawyer. I really question, honestly, that you ever really could, because people have always been people. But certainly today, we know that's just not true. So we need to have a proper level of skepticism. Reserve our judgment for what we see in a person. If we're never with them more than a few times, we're never really going to know what their character is. And so our trust should be commensurate with that. We should be very guarded with the things that we share and that we do with those people. It's very important for us to remember that a proper level of skepticism about the character of people is actually a healthy thing. I know I personally have been burnt by it more than once. Pretty sure you probably have been too. So it's probably a pretty good thing to remember that we should be properly skeptical of people until they show us exactly who they are. Another way to put that is wait for proof of character before you make decisions on who somebody really is. So in all clarity, the best way to take the lessons of those who are abused and apply it to prevention is to say, have a really good sense of proper skepticism and make sure that you understand what you're going to someone in authority for, and don't let them cross any boundaries, and let your gut instinct speak well to you. The truth is, there are two different kinds of people who go into helping industries. When you start to think about the people in our churches, pastors, counselors, youth counselors, if you think about police officers, firemen, attorneys, doctors, therapists, psychologists, the list goes on and on. These helping industries, people who are deeply engaged with people who are wounded or trying to help people stay and keep well. They're going to attract people who either want to help others, or people who like to prey on the wounded, actually like to have a sense of power over them. So we need to be alert, we need to be aware, we need to teach to the people who will follow us that abuse exists in all different institutions by people with all different kinds of titles. So if we are aware of that, we will give those people a gift to be able to identify something before it can take a big turn in their lives. One really quick cheat that kind of explains this is to think of someone's attributes and titles as being something they possess, and think about them as something separate. If you can do that, you will be safer, and the people who follow you that you can have within your circle informed will also be safer. Remember, it's important to understand the red flags of abuse and abusers so that you can identify them early, and don't let somebody's title ever mess with that. Those things should be set in stone. As always, thanks for taking the time to be here. I know there's a lot of other places that you could be. Please consider taking the time to check us out on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or WorththeWar.com. We're determined to build a community that will raise our voices for healthy love and relationship, and we would love to have you join us. Please consider pressing the subscribe button. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and thank you.